Yo, what's going on? It's your boy BigDonSkillz, once again bringing you another video, and I am back from my hiatus. So today we're going to be talking about Devil May Cry 5 and why this game is definitely everything it's lived up to be. Amazing game. But before we get into that, we're just going to talk a little bit about the game, you know, what the game's about, the gameplay itself, my likes, my dislikes, and my recommendation for if you should buy the game or not. So that's simple. You wonder, hey man, what's Devil May Cry about? I've heard about this game series. Man, the focus is Dante, and that's all you really need to know. Dante is definitely a historical character. It's a game series that originally came from what was supposed to be a Resident Evil game, and midway through development, it was like, hey, we had this new idea. So that's kind of where Devil May Cry started as, but Dante has easily became one of Capcom's forefront characters. I mean, even as far as to say he's almost up there with like Ken and Ryu, as far as just how iconic he is. One of the most stylish characters out there. So what's the game's story about? And for the sake of spoilers, we'll just keep it very, very simple. I mean, you have Dante, who I said is just the forefront of the entire series. You have Nero, who was introduced in Devil May Cry 4, who's pretty much like a Dante 1.6. He's almost like the same thing, but not quite there yet. He's a little younger, a little bit more hot-headed kind of attitude to him. And then you have the mysterious V, or 5. I didn't know what to call him at first. And he's also voiced by Kylo Ren, or Eric Driver, Donald Driver, Paul Driver, whatever you want to call him. But that's his voice actor. And you can easily see it as soon as you look at him. So you have these three main characters, and then you also have Lady, who's from the original Devil May Cry series, Trish, who's in there, and the newcomer Nico, who is an engineer, and we'll get into her a little bit later. So it's really simple story. I mean, there's a guy named Urizen. Urizen is just powerful as hell, and they're trying to fight this guy. I'm gonna keep it at that. Won't go into any more details. I know it sounds basic, but just trust me, it's better kept that way. Now, gameplay. This is honestly the highlight of why you're playing this entire series. The gameplay is ridiculous. Like, absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you have all these games that have been coming out lately, and I've talked about before how, like, a game such as, like, Kingdom Hearts 3, right? A game we've been waiting for 15 years, and didn't really offer much new in the gameplay department. And Devil May Cry is a good example of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but at the same time, you can still improve on it to make things better, more fine-tuned than what it was. Devil May Cry's combat's always been ahead of its time, specifically with like Devil May Cry 3, which had, to this day, you could play it and still just be amazed by how good the combat is. You mainly have your buttons mapped to, you know, your, well, I'm going to say in Xbox terms, your X, your Y, and your B buttons. With Nero, who is kind of like the focus of this game in the beginning, he has a mechanical arm, which is made by the girl Nico. And the game will explain to you how he gets his mechanical arm. But what it allows him to do is have different mobility options and different just offensive options with the B button. So he can do bursts in the air and combo off of that. He's got a hand that shoots out electricity. He can use his chain and whip. He can overpower his sword. Like, there's so many different things he has. But what makes it an interesting system is that even though these abilities are powerful, if he gets hit while using the abilities, it'll actually break the arm off. And he pretty much has like a stockpile of different arms he can collect throughout the game. He can buy them from the store using the red orb system, which is Devil May Cry's currency, which you get from killing enemies, breaking stuff, things like that. So Nero's gameplay is a high risk, high reward, I would say, because you get rewarded for not getting hit, and that's his main thing. Like, don't get hit. And you can say that about any game, but do not get hit as Nero. And so next we'll talk about V. V, who is definitely the most unique character out of the three. V is a necromancer, essentially. That's the best way to think of him. He has a griffin that, like, it's pretty much the equivalent of shooting guns, right? Like how Dante uses guns, Nero has guns as well. The the crow will shoot different beams, do lightning bolt attacks, even has a few physical attacks. And then you have the Panther, the Black Panther, the T'Challa. That's my nickname for him. I call him T'Challa. T'Challa has close range attacks. He's called the Shadow, actually. He can do sword-based moves, spinny Beyblade moves. He's flashy. He's pretty dope too, and you'll probably see it in the gameplay as I'm talking right now. But T'Challa is my dude. And then last but not least, my dude Golem. I don't even know what to call him. I call him Lava Golem from Yu-Gi-Oh! If anybody ever remembers that card, that's a throwback. Whatever. This dude is broken. He's a broken mess, and he almost makes the game easy with playing as V. The way you get Golem out on the field as compared to the other two characters is you actually have to summon them. So as Dante has a devil meter where he's able to go demon mode, Nero uses a similar meter, and it's the same exact thing, but he's able to summon the Golem, and he can also like EX enhance the other two. Kind of like in a fighting game, how you can have like your EX moves. You can do that to your Shadow and your Griffin, your T'Challa and your Birdie Bird. So Golem will actually use that meter. But when Golem comes in, dude, he will literally have like specific cutscenes for him where he flies out the sky, crushes everything. He'll sometimes break through walls, get you achievements. Like, the dude is absolutely nuts. And I'm gonna throw a clip in here in a second of what I did to a boss, because the dude's just nuts. He's probably like my favorite. One of my favorite things in the entire game is just summoning Golem and having him shoot lasers and have the screen shake and the frame rate go to crap for like 5 seconds. Like, ridiculous. Pure fun. The most important thing about V, which I didn't even mention yet, is although his buddies can attack, is you'll see in this clip right there how V just finished off the Necromancer. I'm sorry, not the Necromancer, the Blade Warrior. He has to make them go white, and then V has to go in for the last hit in order to finish off the monster. So it doesn't matter how much damage T'Challa does to a monster, V has to always go in and finish it. So even though he's playing that range game, he still has to eventually get in, which makes the character more balanced per se. He doesn't just sit back and just reap the benefits of doing nothing the whole time. So that's enough about V. Let's talk about Dante, man. Dante. He's better than ever, honestly. If you think of like his styles from Devil May Cry 3, he had 4 styles. He had Trickster, which enabled him to do like fancy dodging maneuvers. You know, it's the more mobility-based one. He had Gunslinger, which gave enhanced abilities to his guns, his weapons. He could do additional gun moves in the air. You had Swordmaster, which gives his sword moves, his sword, his melee, whatever weapon, his primary weapon using, accesses more abilities. And then Royal Guard, which is like defensive, like parrying, blocking, which I believe is the hardest out of the styles to use, but definitely the most rewarding if you can master. And if you look up any like boss run or speed run video, dudes are just bodying people with Royal Guard and Trickster, because it definitely requires skill and not just pure button mashing. Dante can literally swap between these 4 styles at any time just by hitting the D-pad, you know, depending on what system you're on. I'm gonna talk in Xbox terms, but hitting the D-pad on Xbox, you can literally swap mid-combo while also swapping your weapons mid-combo. Dante is a blast to play, and Dante is always going to be the highlight of Devil May Cry. He's so fun to play in this game. Just having his different styles, him being able to use the Devil Trigger. Devil Trigger is nuts. He can like summon sword, like it's ridiculous. My favorite weapon for him though is the Balrog, dude. This is literally, you know, they call it Balrog for a reason, man. Street Fighter 2 Balrog. Let's go over here ducking and weaving, throwing punches. And as he hits more hits, the announcer will actually start making callouts. I'm gonna have to play it. It sounds exactly like the Killer Instinct guy, where he's Ultra, Ultra, Ultra. Sounds just like Killer Instinct, dude. Every single time. Totally worth it. Has some of the flashiest moves in the game. And of course with Devil May Cry, you want to always get your style meter, because that's how you get the most points. And you get that style meter from doing different combos, attacking different enemies, having a different approach to just everything in general. So the game rewards you for all this stuff, for being stylish with your combos, being unique, not getting hit, most importantly. Alright, so I talked about the gameplay, and oof. And before I go into the next part, I mean, the game has vastly improved as far as camera angles. And I'm going to bring a little bit of Kingdom Hearts into this, because I know they're weird and totally different games, but I do want to compare, because both were games that we were waiting for a long time, and just to see how much this game has improved over the last games shows that, like, you can still improve a good recipe, you know, as long as you don't take away the core of what makes it good. They fixed the camera angles. Camera angles have very little issues, so sometimes if you have those weird moments, the game will kind of fade out things, so your character isn't getting like body blocked by some enemy that's just kind of in your face. I really like that, and it's a nice quality of life change, and it really helps for those crazy situations where you're getting surrounded by 4 or 5 enemies and you're not really sure what to do. So my likes about the game, dude, I just talked about it. The gameplay is nuts. All the characters are likable. Every character in this game is very likable. Nico's hilarious. She's probably gonna be everybody's next waifu. Like, hilarious character. Lady and Trish are back. I think they're great characters as well. V is an amazing amazing addition to the series. Dante's as dope as ever, and Nero's cool. Like, there's nothing to complain about the characters that are in the game. All great characters, good villains, great bosses. The graphics, oh my god. If you played Resident Evil 2, this game looks, the Resident Evil 2 reboot, this game actually looks a little bit better than the Resident Evil 2 reboot. And that says a lot. That's all I have to say on that. Now let's go about my dislikes about the game. Honestly, very few. Very, very few. And I feel like most of it's nitpicking. There's a few characters in the game that I feel like could have been utilized more, could have had a little bit more explanation or a little bit more involvement within the story. And the story's good, but it, you know, it has there's a few missions that have some kind of dry in between moments that you just kind of want to be over, and that's a little bit more towards the end of the game. But other than that, man, the game is great. I have very little to even complain about. This is definitely looking like this may edge my top 10, dude, because everything on this game has been improved. I mean, this is the definition of a sequel. They've improved on everything that needs to be improved on, and they've introduced a new mechanic without taking away the quality from the old mechanics. Like, you may not like V, or you may like V, but the thing is, you still have Dante and Virgil at their full capacity, which is good, you know, because if you want to do something new, you don't want to take away what makes the old games and what made the previous titles great. So yeah, that's really simple. That's all I have to say about that. And then my next thing, should you cop Devil May Cry 5? Should you cop it? And for all you don't know what cop is, should you buy it? Should you get it? Should you purchase it? Should you add it to your collection? You already know what my answer is, man. This is a fairly obvious one. It's a great game, super fun, extra difficulty levels. Once you beat the game, there's more to do. There's tons of difficulties where you could just get bodied and challenge yourself. There's trials, there's hidden missions. I mean, it's great. Single player games are, I've actually kind of slightly fallen off from, but like, this game has definitely re-sparked a little bit of love for the single player games. I like the linear approach. I don't like all these open world games. And this game is very linear, and I'm more old school in that sense of single player games. I like a linear progression. I like to know where I'm going. I like to just go at a story at the pace that it was intended to. So I'm alright with that. Great game, must buy, man. This is definitely like, yeah, man, this game is definitely like a 9.5. I almost want to give it a 10, dude. Like, there's just really nothing to complain about. Amazing game. Go ahead and buy this. Even if you're new to the series, go ahead and buy it. It's fine. It does not matter. And for what you don't know, you can recap on the old games. There's a recap in the main menu. Boom. Or a YouTube video. That's simple. This your boy BigDonSkillz. Thank you so much. As you see on my screen, I Twitch stream. I have other social medias. Don't forget to check that out. It's obviously going to be down in the description. And if you like the video, you better put a like on the bottom of it. Lets me know that people enjoy it, and I can continue to make even better reviews and even more unique reviews. Also, I'm up for suggestions. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to let me know how you felt. Give me your opinion on this. Definitely buy this game. Better than Kingdom Hearts 3. Must cop. Have a good day. See y'all in the next video. Deuces.